that welcome, man. That was great. Disability is a hot term these days. Most people seem to have an opinion on what the term disability means. And growing up, I spent a lot of my life listening to them. Whether it was strangers telling me or doctors telling me, I spent years living my life defined by other people's definition of disability, until I realised that they weren't the ones dealing with it. I was. And it's not just disability. Across society, we see this issue. Whether it's the label of tough guy or top student. And if there's anything I've learned in life, is that's all they are. Labels. For many years, I carried the weight of my disability as a burden. Society had quite clearly told me that I'd been dealt a bad hand in life, and the thought was depressing, to say the least. So I chose to define myself as something more. Finally embracing the very real suffering that comes with a disability was key to this. People don't often want to talk about suffering. We shy away from it. But I found that on the other side of it, on the other side of disability, on the other side of hardship, is freedom. People often compliment me on my ultra-endurance achievements, but it's exactly because of my disability that I was so passionate. It made me experience isolation and loneliness to a depth I don't think many young people did. But that didn't disable me. It was my internalization of what disability meant that really crippled me. In society more broadly, there's a real lack of visible role models for disabled people to look up to. And the problem is, there won't be unless our narrative around disability changes. We cannot expect disabled people to perform, to be excellent, until they exist in an environment that encourages this. While there has been great work done with the Paralympics, we need to expand our definition of what successful disabled people look like. And the way to shift that is changing our thinking around it. Because at base, all we are is human. I want to encourage disabled people to achieve things, not to show how impressive disabled people are, but to show how impressive they are. People don't understand exactly how valuable their physical body is, exactly how precious the ability to walk is. And disability changes this, obviously. It fundamentally restructures the way you look at value. I knew that if being quadriplegic had caused me this much pain, that things I also took for granted were of equal, if not more value. The realization that your suffering is influenced by you is a powerful perspective that disability is uniquely poised to offer the world. And I truly believe that if we can stop pitying disabled people for their difficulties and start empowering them to overcome them, then society as a whole will benefit. Life is not about how much you have. It's about how much you appreciate the value of what you have. And by restructuring my conceptions, disability allowed me to value the things I'd never be without, my body and my mind. So many people in life waste it by never chasing things of real value. And disability and the lessons it taught me helped me understand just how much having and doing things of real value can make to your life. Ironically, it was through the very thing that society pitied me for that I found what fulfilled me. To give a more personal example, when I was growing up, people would constantly offer to help me with what I viewed as easy tasks. And to be honest, it really made me question my capabilities. If everyone around you is offering to help with something, you start to question whether they can see something you can't, some lack or deficiency that you possess. It wasn't until I went to military school where I was forced to embrace those difficulties on my own, that I realised how capable I really was. It was also the first time in my life that I did up my own shirt, because it was the only time in my life that someone hadn't done it for me. This misconception of disabled people as those in need of assistance, in my experience, comes from the fact that conversation around disability is completely stifled. And it's absolutely key that we work on creating a more open dialogue between disabled and able-bodied people. Disability does make you different from most people, but it is exactly that difference that can help you teach people about the things that they've been taking for granted. Likewise, as a disabled person, open conversations with my able-bodied friends helped me realise the areas where it was my lack of confidence, not my disability, that was really restricting me. And that was essential towards living a more fulfilling life. I've seen the importance of disability exemplified in nowhere more obvious than in my experience as a man. The narrative fed to men can be summed up in under 5 words. You have to be powerful, you have to be capable, you have to be in control, you have to be independent. And disability didn't give me easy access to these qualities. By nature, I was either shown or told that I was dependent or incapable. And to some extent, those words are true. Compared to the average man, I will be more dependent. And growing up, I felt quite keenly that I didn't fit into the image of what a man should be. There is no big story or obvious example of this. It's in the little things, like being segregated on school trips or being put in the special section for school tests. It was in the lack of availability to integrate into the normal that I felt most other. As a man, I felt like a failure, an embarrassment. I was supposed to be taking the lion's share of the load, and here I was, relegated to the sidelines. These inferiorities came to a head when I went to my secondary school. And it was there that I met a lot of boys dealing with the same insecurities I was. And I think it was in me that they found a good example to demonstrate to themselves that they were capable, that they were powerful. Most boys, when picked on, respond with physical violence. One punch to the face and the problem solved. The only issue is, my only fair competition in a fight is geriatric old men. In this again, I was unable to provide the normal male solution to the typical male problem. And instead, I was forced to work through these issues on my own. And it actually led to me being a happier, healthier man as a result. And I think it is in this that the beauty of disability lies, and how it forces you to confront your conceptions. We are missing a wealth of information, of experience, by still conceptualizing of the able-bodied disabled relationship as that of carer and cared for. In the modern day, we are told that we can achieve anything on our own. But the reality is, everything that you are, to your beliefs, to your fears, to your dreams, none of that was shaped by you alone. From the very beginning, you have been a bundle of experiences and inputs that you've played a small but significant part in moulding. This idea of being put together, of being in control, of being perfect, was always an illusion. And I think the sooner we can recognize how much we radically depend on and are shaped by others, even those we don't like, the more easily we will be able to handle what life throws at us. More broadly, I've seen amongst the disabled community the idea that one should only listen to disabled voices regarding disabled issues. And I think this perspective is unhelpful. I could quite easily pit myself against those who are the most antagonizing and aggressive regarding my disability. But it is exactly those people who are crying out for help the most. We need to view people's negative transgressions within reason as symptoms of the same illnesses we are all facing in society. Take the example of the boys who took the mick out of me in secondary school. While their well-being doesn't directly affect me, the insecurities that drove them are exactly the same insecurities that drive a lack of care and awareness across society. And those create the issues that affect me and others like me. The reality is that what characterizes the physical experience of disability is very rarely disabled people, but wider society. And it is only by inviting people into wider conversation that we will make change. Because change instigated by a minority, by its nature, must happen together with the majority. And I think the sooner we can recognize our interdependence on people in society, the better we'll be able to more effectively work on these issues. We live in a world where we are now hyper-aware of the serious and complex issues that face humanity. But the only way we can fix them is by becoming less fragmented as a society. I think it's key to highlight the fact that we're not divided by our differences, because we all play, at least to some degree, a role in what keeps us and everybody down. Regarding disability, even though people may feel divided and they haven't faced my particular challenges, negative associations of dependency that affect how disabled people are treated also affect our wider society. In my experience, what I craved and missed growing up was acceptance, inclusion, and understanding. And I think the lack of those things is something everybody faces. By learning how to understand and tackle those things, I think we become more together as a society. In my experience, all the most difficult moments of my life have not been because I was in a wheelchair, but because I felt fundamentally isolated and not listened to. And that, I think, is something everybody can relate to. Sometimes it's not a case of solving issues, but merely creating or being the space in which those issues feel like they can be heard. We gain comparatively little by focusing on the difference between disabled and able-bodied people, and thinking that the two are in some way fundamentally different. It's obvious that they are. But if we switch our focus to creating a space where we don't feel like disability needs to be fixed, where we don't feel like disability contains some inherent negative that we need to eradicate, then we can invite disabled people into conversation as equals, not as people who need to shoulder the burden of their experiences. And for me, that is genuine inclusion. Our differences are important. The fact of the matter is the world is unequal, and we have a duty to raise those issues. What I'm advocating for is not to try and erase our differences, but to stop defining people by them. The issue with defining people by their differences is that once you do, it fundamentally leaves you alone, or at least relegated to your group. In summary, disability is one part of who I am, but it doesn't make me particularly special. Real suffering is something all of us experience. Creating a more open dialogue and changing the narrative around disability would have a profound effect on not just individuals, but wider society as a whole. As a disabled person, I'm not here to be your inspiration, and I'm not here to be your pity party. I'm here to tell people who've suffered that you are more than the sum of your negative experiences. And while some of them seem and could very well be utterly pointless, if you let it, they will help shape you into the kind of person you will be proud of. Thank you very much for listening.